converted, I suppose I made a decision I wasn't going to make an announcement straight away, because I didn't feel comfortable with that. I just wanted to see how things went, just behave normally. Because what I didn't want people to think was that I'd gone mad, or I was doing something rash or irrational. I wanted to be able to tell people, yeah, actually, I've converted now, and it actually happened some time ago, even if only a few months ago. I thought that would make it easier in terms of people getting used to it. But the reaction has been better than I could have hoped for, really. The first person I told was my youngest brother. I have two younger brothers. I sort of dropped a hint. It was around Christmas time, and he was thinking of making a Christmas pudding, or at least his partner was. And I said, well, don't put any alcohol in it, because I don't take that anymore. And then I explained why. And he said, oh, okay. Well, they said to me, well, we had in fact guessed that that's what you'd done, but I'm glad you've told us. So he had suspected that I'd taken that step for a while. So it was easy for them. They were happy with it, and they welcomed it. After that, I told my mother, and I wouldn't say she was pleased, but she said, it's your decision. I think that's one of the things that's good about Western society in a way. It's a sort of very accepting culture, and people do decide to follow a particular path, even if I'd said become a Buddhist or a Hindu. I'm sure people have been fine with that, but it was quite easy for my mother to take. And my father was, he said he was impressed by it. He liked the fact that I'd made a solid commitment, even though that's not how I'd been brought up. He was happy with that choice. And I have made a distinct effort to improve. I wouldn't say they're a bad relation with my parents, but they live in Manchester, I live in London, so it's not always easy for me to have the links with them that I'd like. So I always try and set time aside to spend a long period with them. I go away with my father on holidays. In fact, I'm going away with him to Jordan later this month. So that's the way I try and fulfill that obligation by spending time with them, even though I can't see them or even speak to them every week. And hopefully that way they can see that Islam has done me good, because I try and look after them more. The thing you'll always get is people instinctively going to be suspicious because of the negative influence about Islam. They say to me, oh, you're not going to be like that, or you're not going to behave in that particular way, in an extremist way, and then that was one of the reasons I sort of delayed it, if you like. I just wanted to make things appear as like business as usual, if you like. I hadn't changed psychologically as a person. I just had formed a different set of convictions and beliefs. I was just anxious as well. I didn't want to portray myself as an extremist. It's difficult in terms of not attending things like Christmas and going to Christmas meals and that sort of thing, but that's they see that's fine. They don't have a problem with that. But that's one thing I do slightly miss. That sort of social gathering is has been a bit of a change for me, I'd say, keeping away from those sorts of things. I try and make up for it in other ways, like the ways I've just mentioned. After I converted, I didn't really expect any dramatic changes and didn't really want there to be. I just wanted, things to be as normal as possible. I found that I think one thing I've certainly found that I've become a more responsible person since I converted. I've been more sure of my convictions. If somebody's, because I hold a senior position at work, if somebody's asked me a question or asked my advice about something, I've been more ready to give it with a sense of commitment, and I've been more sure of myself, I would say, and I can give answers to questions easier. So it's helped me sort of mature as an individual. I realise that it's only been 18 months, so nothing's going to happen overnight. But I would certainly say I have become more sure of myself. I've become a more certain individual since I converted. Well, I did my tajweed classes, and I've tried to learn as much of the latter part as I can. So I've memorised many of the last 10, 15 surahs of the Quran, which is nice because then you can, adapt your prayers according to which surah you feel like quoting. So I made a conscious decision to do that. Maybe I don't read as much as I'd like to. I'd like to sort of get into a habit of dedicating time aside, even if it's only a few times a week, to doing that, to learning more. I'm still reliant on the English, I would say. I haven't quite got to the stage where I'm confident reciting straight from the Arabic, but inshallah that will come. I would say, in terms of getting to know people through friends of friends, they've been extremely helpful. And, they've fallen over backwards to help me sometimes. In terms, if you're asking me, if I've been to Friday prayers, if people come up to me and introduce themselves, that's not really happened. People keep themselves to themselves, I think, in that setting, and there's not much interaction in that. And similarly, at lectures I've been to at the Islamic Centre, people, you don't get people coming up introducing themselves or wanting to find out about you. So it has been slow in that respect, but I wouldn't expect strangers to come up and want to inquire about you. People are people. They like to keep themselves to themselves. And if I had one wish, it would be to see a community outside that particular that centre of northwest London. Inshallah, one day that will happen. But I do taqleed, so I can ask a representative from the website. The one problem I have with it, I don't. Often my questions are quite complicated because I have a basic knowledge of a lot of things. But if you're asking complicated questions, because the representative's first language isn't necessarily English, you don't really get a sense that they've understood your question properly. So I've had to do sort of find out my sheikh, and even if through an interpreter, get the answer I wanted through that. But there are good resources out. People people are only too willing to help if they can, and you can send an email to so and so and so and so, and you get an answer back quite quickly. There's a lot of excellent YouTube resources, and even on the site itself, you can version of iPlayer now, haven't you? So you can watch things. You can watch things again. So if you missed things, so I do particularly enjoy watching the Q&A because there's always something I didn't know beforehand, which I found out from watching the Sunday evening shows. So that's a particular valuable source of information. In terms of Islamic pilgrimages, I've done two so far. One I don't count because it sort of happened by accident before I converted. We went to Lebanon, and we went on my friend and I, we went on a bus trip to Baalbek, not realising that there was a shrine to the daughter of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, Khawla. There's a shrine to her there, and we found it purely by accident, and that was a particularly lovely experience because nobody was there. It was very quiet, very secluded, very and there was a very sort of great feeling of being there. That was in the February before I converted that I was there. After I converted, I went on a trip on my own to Syria, to Damascus. and I visited two places, the shrine, or three places actually. There's the antechamber of the Umayyad Mosque where Imam Hussein's head, alayhi salam, was taken, and then to the Sayyidah Ruqayya. She has a shrine there. I did ziyarat to that, and then to Sayyidah Zainab, just outside the city. Those were all wonderful experiences. Sayyidah Zainab was interesting because I thought I would go when Friday prayers was on, and there were a whole load of people lined up. I took my place in the queue, and then nothing happened. There was no sort of khutbah, no prayers or anything, but the people were sort of arrayed there waiting, and nothing happened. I found it a bit too crowded, to be honest. I prefer the experience at this Lady Khawla's shrine. When I went on that Friday to Sayyidah Zainab, there was less sense of privacy, if you like, because I particularly enjoy the sense of communion through privacy. So I mean, I don't really know how I'd react if I went on Hajj, because obviously that's another experience altogether. But that's in front of me. So those are the three experiences I've had pilgrimage-wise. I've yet to go to Iraq. That's another adventure in the future, inshallah. There have been occasions since I converted when I've felt a sense of desperation. For example, if I had a very difficult case at work, I haven't seen a solution, I've not been able to find a solution, and I prayed for one. I wouldn't say I've directed my prayers through a particular person. Obviously, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, I say that repeatedly, but I wouldn't say I relied on a particular person for that. I mean, I haven't got the knowledge, so I mean, I don't know yet the procedure, I suppose you could say, for doing that. So my prayers are quite simple, if you like, at the moment. But I've been amazed at how solutions have been found to difficult problems at work that I couldn't find, whether it's through a third-party intervention or some other event happening in a case to change it completely. So that's been particularly important for me to have that to rely on. But in terms of the Ahlul Bayt, I mean, the example of the life of Imam Ali will always astound you. The things he said, his sayings are really the things we can barely live up to in our daily lives. But inshallah, we try.
Du'as, have you attended Du'a Kumayn maybe? Have you
Yeah. I've attended it. My shahada occurred on the Du'a Kumayn evening.
اللهم إني أسألك برحمتك التي وسعت كل شيء وبقوتك التي قهرت بها كل شيء وخضع لها كل شيء وذل لها كل شيء وبجبروتك التي غلبت بها كل شيء وبعزتك التي لا يقوم لها شيء وبعظمتك التي ملأت كل شيء وبسلطانك الذي على كل شيء وبوجهك الباقي بعد فناء كل شيء وبأسمائك التي ملأت أركان كل شيء وبعلمك الذي أحاط بكل شيء وبنور وجهك الذي أضاء له كل شيء يا نور يا نور يا أول الأولين ويا آخر الآخرين اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تهتك اللسان اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل النقام.
So I attended God Do I Come Out, and then there was a talk, and then my Shahada followed that. Another point I was going to make about why I was, why there was I took my time. I mean, there were quite a few aspects of Islam that I was, that I decided I couldn't make full sense of. So, for example, the way of performing wudu, I couldn't quite. I tried to rationalise as much as I can, so I saw the health benefits of fasting, even performing prayers and so on. But things like wudu, I couldn't quite understand why things were done in a particular way, and nobody could really explain to me, and nothing had read it explained it to me in a way I could make sense of. So, in a sense, when I took my Shahada, it was like a leap of faith. I said, okay, I'll do it, and inshallah the solution will come later. Because what I wanted to avoid was doing things for the sake of it in a dogmatic way. I wanted to avoid that. The answer to that particular problem came when I went to the opticians, because before my conversion I had a few problems with my eyes, build up of pollution, which is living from inner city areas, you build up pollution in your eyes, and my optician advised me to bathe my eyes in soap, baby soap, which I hadn't been doing. But when I went to the optician shortly after I converted, she said, "Oh, actually, it's all cleared up. Have you been applying the oil like I suggest?" I said, "No, I haven't." Well, I haven't regularly. I sort of told a white lie. I said, "Well, actually, yes, I have, but I've been looking after my eyes," I think I said. So, but then I thought, well, it must be because of the way we'll do it. It must be, cleansing that particular part of my body in a positive way. So, the answer came afterwards, if you like. So, I think it's one of the reasons it's important to have faith. You can't understand everything, but inshallah, through practice, the solution comes later. I think one of the criticisms you have of any religions, Islam, whatever it is it's faith-based. If you listen to, I don't know, Richard Dawkins or one of these people, they want to eliminate faith. They want everything to be based on reason and understanding. But, you have to accept that there are lots of things you can't grasp, and, why people, why things are done in a certain way. And I think, it's critical to have faith and to do things based on well, once you have the foundations, then the rest follows. I think even if you don't understand what the rest is at the time, the solution comes later. Easy for my mother to take, and my father was, he actually said he was impressed by it. He liked the fact that I'd made a solid commitment, even though that's not how I'd been brought up. He was happy with that choice, and I have made a distinct effort to improve. I wouldn't say there were bad relations with my parents, but they live in Manchester, I live in London, so it's not always easy for me to have the links with them that I'd like. So I always try and set time aside to spend a long period with them. I go away with my father on holidays. In fact, I'm going away with him to Jordan later this month. So that's the way I try and fulfill that obligation by spending. I wanted to be able to tell people, yeah, actually, I've converted now, and it actually happened some time ago, even if only a few months ago. I thought that would make it easier in terms of people getting used to it. But the reaction has been better than I could have hoped for, really. The first person I told was my youngest brother. I have two younger brothers. I sort of dropped a hint. It was around Christmas time, and he was thinking of making a Christmas pudding, or at least his partner was. And I said, well, don't put any alcohol in it because I don't take that anymore. And then I explained why. And he said, oh, okay. Well, they said to me, well, we had in fact guessed that that's what you'd done, but I'm glad you've told us. So he had suspected that I'd taken that step for a while. So it was easy for them. They were happy with it and they welcomed it. After that, I told my mother, and I wouldn't say she was pleased, but she said, it's your decision. I think that's one of the things that's good about Western society in a way. It's a sort of very accepting culture, and people do decide to follow a particular path, even if I'd said become a Buddhist or a Hindu. I'm sure people have been fine with that, but it was quite. After I converted, I suppose I made a decision I wasn't going to make an announcement straight away, because I didn't feel comfortable with that. I just wanted to see how things went, just behave normally. Because what I didn't want people to think was that I'd gone mad, or I was doing something rash or irrational, spending time with them, even though I can't see them or even speak to them every week. And hopefully that way they can see that Islam has done me good, because I try and look after them more. The thing you'll always get is people are instinctively going to be suspicious because of the negative influence about Islam. They say to me, oh, you're not going to be like that, or you're not going to behave in that particular way, in an extremist way. And and that was one of the reasons that I sort of delayed it, if you like. I just wanted to make things appear as like business as usual, if you like. I hadn't changed psychologically as a person.